Breakfast at Wimbledon on famed center court. The men's final for the 1995 championship. The weather hot, sticky, 85 degrees is forecast. And this audience of over 13,000 await the entrance of the two finalists and considerable royalty as well. This is Diana, along with the Duke and Duchess of Kent, the president of the All England Club, who has announced warm enough that the men may take off their jackets. And here they are. 27-year-old Boris Becker, 3 times a champion, attempting to celebrate the 10th anniversary of his first title at age 17 against the 2-time defending champion American Pete Sampras. The 23-year-old Sampras, with a win today, would become only the 3rd man in 80 years to capture Wimbledon 3 consecutive times. It's a mating of 2 of the best ever play on center court. A taciturn American with textbook strokes against an extrovert German with power plus. 10 years ago, this was the scene. The 17-year-old Becker becoming the youngest ever to win these championships. And it was just last year on center court that Sampras seemed so invincible. This fortnight, Becker has been reborn, playing with his unique, fiery spirit. He used it to conquer Andre Agassi, making a remarkable comeback against the world #1. Sampras used the early rounds to school his unsteadiness. By the time the 23-year-old had reached the semifinals, he had left Goran Ivanisevic to ponder what could have been. As he accepted congratulations for reaching his 3rd consecutive final. Is it destiny, a 4th title 10 years after the 1st? Or will it be a rare Wimbledon three-peat? And we welcome you. We hope you have the strawberries and cream supply well in hand. John McEnroe, 3 times a champion at Wimbledon in singles, and who knows how many times he won doubles. It was a matter of how many he chose to win. You have to feel the excitement for Boris Becker at age 27, walking on his court once again.
You just got to think, if you're Boris Becker, I'm excited in the booth right now, how proud both players are to be in this situation. This is what you dream about as a kid, especially Americans. We dreamed about 2 tournaments, the U.S. Open and Wimbledon, which seems so far away, the other side of the ocean. And for both these players, a huge, huge win to boost their stature.
You know, Becker says he was born on center court, and a half hour before they walked out today, Becker was seen up above the royal box, and it was as if he was getting his focus and looking through his 10 years. If he wins today, the 10-year gap is the most for a champion since Bill Tilden won in 1920 and repeated in 1930. And you wondered what was going through his mind. Certainly much of it was on his opponent, Pete Sampras.
Well, you know, he's done that every match that he's played on center court. So part of it's superstition, and part of it's being able to sit in that royal box and enjoy the moments, and to come out 30 minutes before, get a little bit of feeling for the conditions, although all the people aren't in. But Boris seems to, he's the only player, as a matter of fact, that I've seen do that.
Now, Pete Sampras, when he first arrived, men like Rod Laver and Don Budge said, that kid's going to be a Wimbledon champion, and they were right.
He's the greatest all-around player I've seen in the last 20, 30 years. Rod Laver was my idol. Rod Laver was Pete Sampras' idol. This guy started slowly at Wimbledon. You believe, it's hard to believe, his first 3 years, he lost 2 first rounds and a second round, unlike Boris Becker, whose first 3 years included 2 Wimbledon championships. So their paths have been different for both 2 of the greatest players of the Open era.
We're ready for the 1995 championship of Wimbledon, the men's final. That first ball in the air when we return.
The Championships, Wimbledon, brought to you by the totally new Ford Contour, a world car for the 21st century. By Visa, it's everywhere you want to be. By IBM, solutions for a small planet. And by Dean Witter, there are many ways to measure success. Dean Witter measures success one investor at a time.
So much at stake. In the modern era, only 2 men have won 3 in a row. Sampras trying to join Borg and Fred Perry, the Britishman, and Becker trying to win 4 in the modern era. Only Bjorn Borg has won more than that. The Swede with 25. Sampras, just 23 and already 2 titles, ranked second behind Andre Agassi. Agassi dismissed by Boris Becker in the semis. And Pete, 36-9 this year. His Wimbledon record now has been run to 20 in a row, 20 consecutive wins.
Well, we look at his results. First round, the cigarette-smoking German Karsten Brosch in 4 semi-difficult sets. An easy win over Tim Henman, an Englishman. Jared Palmer gave him some trouble for a set and a half before he folded. Greg Ruzetsky, the Canadian Englishman, straight sets. Pete showing him something. Great result there from Matsuoka, the Japanese. Played hard there for a few sets as well in 4. And a tough 5-set win for Pete Sampras. I think his road to the finals will help him because he played 3 straight serve volley players here in Matsuoka, Ruzetsky, and even Ivanisevic. Whereas when we take a look at Becker,
Boris at 27 certainly looks bigger than 6'3" and 190. He's ranked 4 seeded 3, makes his tax home in Monte Carlo from Lyman, Germany, very near where Steffi Graf was raised. In fact, they played across the net from each other as kids. 32-10 this year and over $500,000 for Becker. And here's his trip to the finals.
If you look at his trip, he's played 3 left-handed players. The second round, an easy win first round over Alvarez, the Spaniard. John Appel is a lefty. Jan Simmerink as well as lefty from the Netherlands. They were both serving volleyers. Go to the 4th round. Dick Norman was that total unknown from Belgium, also a lefty. And then he played 2 righties that served and stayed back, and Pioline and Agassi. Well, that's not going to happen today with Sampras. Sampras is going to serve and volley on both serves. Is one of the best servers in the game. So his road is not exactly what he would have liked in order to be prepared to play Pete Sampras. But he's going to try to use his mental strength, because I believe his best chance of winning, without a doubt, is that the closer this match gets, his personality, his presence on the court is so phenomenal, especially here at Wimbledon, that if it gets to that close stage the way it did against Agassi in the semis, you got to like Becker's chances there. Pete Sampras, I think, is the more talented of the two, more athletic. I think he's in better condition. He's certainly got plenty of reasons to win himself, so I have to take Pete here as the favorite. But he wants to try to show that, as we see here, their last match 2 years ago, not their last match at Wimbledon 2 years ago, and a close overall 6-5 record. You got to go with Sampras on paper, but Becker proved a lot of people wrong, including myself, on Friday with that huge win over Agassi.
Is it first serve percentages, service returns? What will be the key?
Well, it's going to be a combination of all those. It's going to be how many first serves these two players get in, how many chances their opponents get to return the second. I don't think you're going to see either player serve and stay back, although I never thought I'd see that with Becker, serving and staying back against Agassi a couple points. Brilliant tactical match he played there. Pete Sampras, I suspect, will serve and volley on every ball as well. Both big hitters. They both like the running forehand. They're going to try to set themselves up for that shot. Appears that Pete Sampras has won the toss and will serve first.
Judging from the reaction of the crowd here at center court, Becker is the favorite. Sampras won the spin. He'll serve to open the championship.
First set, play.
And you'll notice in this match that both players have improved their volleying over the course of the last few years. Becker and Sampras hitting with more sting. And what really impressed me is how well they half volley, especially Becker against Agassi, because Agassi really keeps that return short.
And on an unpredictable surface. First ace.
And also, Sampras saved his best serving for the semifinals against Ivanisevic. And I still think he can kick it up another gear if he plays his best tennis. I don't think we've seen the best of Pete Sampras this year. Last thing we should mention is, of course, that we've talked about this before, Becker being a slow starter. Can he afford to get away with it again here in the finals?
He was paralyzed by Andre Agassi's returns through a set and a half and then recovered in the semis. And that love, quick game for Pete Sampras. Welcome back. Now Boris Becker. Becker through the championship, 6 matches broken 10 times, Sampras 8.
Becker to serve.
Dick, I talked to Nick Bollettieri, who's now Boris Becker's coach, just before the match, and he said what he thought was the key to the match is two things. One, Boris believing he could do it, which obviously he believes after that Agassi match, and two, that second serve. We see Nick here going after the second serve. Don't be afraid to take chances. He said he didn't know Pete's game as well as Andre, so he couldn't really help as much in that department as he did on Friday. Pete Sampras showing he's got a nice return of his own. Not just Andre Agassi can hit winner returns. That ball sat up nice and beautifully for that Sampras inside-out forehand. He had plenty of time here. He's not going to be afforded that luxury too often, I don't believe.
Boris Becker in his 7th Wimbledon finals in the modern era. That's most. Borg and Connor 6 times. His 12th Wimbledon. Won as a kid, 17, youngest ever. In 85 against Kevin Kern, repeated against Lendl in 86 and Edberg in 89 for his 3 titles.
30-all.
And the first double fault.
Well, I've heard you talk about his body before, Dick, that linebacker-looking body like he should have been in the NFL. And that helps by far and away here on this court. The pounding that he takes on the other surfaces. I don't know if he could win a major again. I wasn't sure if he could even win a major again even here, but only one match away today. Would just be phenomenal to beat the top 2 players in the world in the semis and finals. Boy, that would put him in a whole new stratosphere.
Talk with the All England Club groundspeople before the match. Very little they can do. The court is bruised. There are rough spots, obviously worn, and there'll be some bad bounces. They roll it, and that's about all. Roll it and line it.
They do one thing differently they did in the past, bring those gentlemen out and step on the bad spots in the changeover, so that's at least something.
Tamp on the divots. Free-flowing backhand return.
Well, we saw Sampras a little tentative at 30-all. This time he made no mistake. Watch that ball right until he made contact. That is rule number 1.
Becker only 1 out of 6 first serves in his opening game. Sampras was 4 for 4, and start missing the first serves on grass, it's going to haunt you.
Really stepped into that return there. Not the way Becker wanted to start once again. 1 out of 7 first serves. Sampras with time there. Try to push that into his body, but to no avail.
So an early break chance for the defending champion.
Just missed that. Well, that's what separates Becker from the good or the great, perhaps. The ability to win the big point and come up with the first serve when he desperately needs it. I've seen that so many times in the past.
Advantage Becker.
It appears that Boris is going to serve to Pete's backhand, as at least that's the early indicator. Almost every serve going to the backhand wing.
Sampras is more dangerous off the forehand side, but he's got a great backhand as well.
There's the forehand.
Okay, Becker.
Well, Becker surviving, holding through.